Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. So happy to be speaking with you today. We always like to start our show out by talking about what it means to be a warrior. And a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. And I always break down that is an or statement, brave or experienced soldier or fighter. So you don't have to be brave and you don't have to be a soldier. But if you have experience and you're a fighter, then you get to be a warrior. And so experience just means you've overcome something difficult, and fighter just means you fought your way through that. And so why does it matter that you get to be a warrior? Well, everybody thinks about how tough warriors are. Warriors make hard decisions. Warriors fight. They never give up. So if you recognize that you're actually qualified to be one, then this should help you to have the mentality to push forward. And the Bible talks about, double-edged sword, the idea of the tongue being one. And if you tell yourself that you're a warrior and you tell yourself that you can overcome, there's actual statistical data that says your potential to overcome increases. And if you tell yourself that you can't overcome, that you are underqualified and you're not strong enough to take on that situation, then you can actually cause your chances of success to go down. So when you think about this, when you're like, you know what, I'm facing the hardest thing that I've ever faced in my life, recognize you've done that before. You've had to look at something in your life and be like, I can't overtake this. This is terrible. This is going to be the end of me. And you're here. And so you're on to the next thing, the next hard thing, the next giant. You hear people say, next level, next devil. You're literally dealing with something tougher than you've dealt with before, and it may be in a different arena that you're even unfamiliar with. So surround yourself with like-minded individuals that can help you recognize you don't have to do it alone and figure out what's it going to take for me to pass this one too.
I gave a presentation. We traveled for an event, and I gave a presentation. I guess it's been about a month ago. And I remember just standing at you go to give a presentation. Your nerves are always letting you know, do you even remember what you know? Like, am I going to stand up there and forget everything I know? But I just remember looking out at this group of people and thinking to myself, and I knew this because of the meetings we had been doing, but it was like everyone in this room was going through a battle. And it was very legitimate. I mean, there were major issues with children. There were financial issues, very concerning financial issues. There were relationship issues where they were on the verge of divorce. There was pretty extraordinary health issues happening in that room. It was like every single person in the room had a really different battle, but they were all going through a battle. And so I was hired to stand in front of the room and to encourage and to talk to them about becoming a warrior and being a warrior and how to utilize health and wellness and food and everything, to kind of equip them to better be a warrior. And I just found myself, as I would speak and as I was looking out at them, you can kind of read the crowd and know if they're engaging or not, and know if they're really in it with you or not. I just felt like them lifting in their chair, and spiritually, it was like we were pumping them with fuel, because it showed them no matter how defeated they were, no matter how challenging this was, and there's some real stuff going on in this room, no matter what it was, no matter what those circumstances was that was happening, I was giving them hope. I was anchoring them to hope. And it wasn't that I was hope that it was all going to get better. It was hope that they were strong enough to endure the hardship day after day after day after day in order to persevere to the possibility that things could get better. And what I think about being a warrior is that it does lift you. It takes you to this different place. So instead of being solidly focused on the defeated part of life, and there are so many things that can defeat us, as a warrior, you think, I'm equipped for this. I battle. That's what I do. I shield up and I go into my day and I battle. And I have all that it takes to be able to do that. Now, I need to equip my health to be able to be a warrior. I need to equip my spirit, and that there's responsibility with all that. I mean, there's tasks that need to happen, and that's what I stood on a stage and talked about. But the reality is that when you follow through with those tasks and you make your body stronger and you really equip your body, and then you follow through with those tasks and you make your spirit man stronger, and that means plugging in and staying connected with God and like supernaturally finding the ability to hear from him. That means that you are going to be ready. You're going to be ready for the attack. You're going to be equipped. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Yes, you're going to have hard times. Yes, it's going to be difficult, but you will be equipped for it. And I know you will hear from God, and I know that you will be in alignment with how to better get through these struggles.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when we consider for ourselves how much harder it is for us to accept that we can overcome something than we expect others to accept it. So, how many people do you have, friends, family members, whatever it may be, that are going through something difficult, and you're telling them, focus on what you can do, not on what you can't do. Focus on being positive, not being on negative. You're telling them how to get through something that you need to go through. And one of the things that I find that can be one of the most therapeutic or healing things that you can do is help somebody else who either potentially is in the same situation as you or is in a situation that you have recently overcome to get to the level you're at now. So maybe they're dealing with, again, I already mentioned so far today, next level, next devil. Maybe they're dealing with your last devil, and now you're dealing with this one. There's just something to be said about helping someone else that can kind of assist you. And I talk about this with some of my clients sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's that concept of the pot calling the kettle black. Well, sometimes it's not accusatory. Sometimes it's the pot just realizing they need to do what the kettle's doing. And I'll have clients that I'll be talking to or telling something, and then I'll recognize that I needed the advice as well. And the Bible talks about it being the word, being the living water, the fluid word of God. And so if you're bringing that into your body, if you're bringing that into your mind, you might not know the exact verse that you're speaking, but if you're speaking the word, then you stand to speak the word. If you're bringing the word in, you stand to speak the word out. And if you're speaking it out, it's fascinating how sometimes putting that into the atmosphere causes you to absorb what was already inside of you. So I just want to kind of get you to recognize, like, if you're stuck in your own junk, like maybe you need to look at what's around you and see if there's someone that you can help. And, if you're stuck in your own junk and there's no one around you that you can help, like, it's worth looking for someone that can help you. And I'm not talking about begging. I'm not talking about like, just give me that. I'm talking about growth. Like, where can you find someone like-minded that has overcome or is overcoming what you're currently going through? I mean, most people, most things, I'm not going to say everything because there are new things that people are going through, but most things, somebody has gone through what you're going through. And so if you look hard enough, especially with our connection to the internet these days, you're likely to find some advice on how to deal with that. And once you do that, you get a plan of action. I always think about the fact that prior to the internet, prior to that type of connectivity of the world, how did people overcome things they knew nothing about? I mean, think about how hard that is. Think about just the simplicity of how we can get somewhere. What if you're given directions to go somewhere and you don't even have road names? They still got there. So go looking for that action plan or that battle plan instead of getting caught up in the misery of thinking that you can't overcome something.
I have an entire business based on that. I mean, I have an autoimmune disease, and when I sit in front of people and help them, one of the best ways I help them is just truly through my life experiences, the doctors I've met with, the treatments I've gone through, the different medications I've tried, the supplement protocols I've done, and the ways I've changed my food. It's actually what I help people with the most. Now, I'm functionally certified. I'm a health coach. I have Chinese medicine experience. I have brain health coaching experience. But at the end of the day, I honestly feel I help people the most with that. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done talking to you about what it means to be a warrior and just kind of overcoming, I know the John Wayne quote that says, courage is having fear but moving forward in spite of it. I think there's actually 1 million people that claim that quote in some variation now. And so, be strong and courageous. That's what the Bible calls us to do. And so sometimes I think that people are like, well, that means that I have to be strong and that means I have to have courage. And it's like, well, recognize what that's saying. It's not saying you are strong. It's not saying that you have a lack of fear. It's telling you to be strong and to be courageous, which means you can have fear and move forward in spite of it. So it's actually a word of wisdom on how to move forward. It's not calling you strong and courageous. It's saying be strong and courageous. And if you think about that, what are you doing right now to overcome whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life? Sometimes it's worth checking yourself on what you're dealing with. And I've talked about this in the past. I have stress right now that I deal with from a business perspective that, it's like paralyzing. It's crippling. And then I look back at the fact that I've been stabbed. I've been shot at. I've had my back broken. And I could go on and on with this list of things. I've been in dangerous situations where I've been in standoffs and I got to leave the situation and the criminal didn't. They didn't go home that night. And so it's like, man, those are some scary situations to overcome. So sometimes I think people compare their situation to someone else's, but that doesn't work. You have to compare your situation to your own. Have you overcome something that is comparable and difficulty in the past as to what you're dealing with right now, maybe in a different arena? If not, did you overcome something when you were weaker back then and you were closer to being strong enough to overcome what you're dealing with now than you were back then? You have to give yourself some credit for getting to where you are while you're thinking about how you're going to accomplish what you're dealing with. And we get stuck in it. We get stuck in the rut. We get stuck in, how do I get through this? We get stuck in, I'm not strong enough. I'm never going to get over this. And sometimes we even accept it for our way of life. I remember being in my 20s and feeling like garbage and telling myself this is just what it feels like to get old. Really? In your 20s? You know how many people I know in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s saying that? You know how many people live to be 90 something? I think the average death age right now in the United States is in the 80s. The heck are you talking about? This is what it's like to get old. You're actually selling yourself short. You're actually just allowing yourself to have an excuse to not experience life while talking about that you don't get to experience life. So when you think about what you're going to eat, when you think about what you're going to drink, when you think about the activities you're doing, or what it is you're going through, I challenge you to consider like that it's not over. This isn't the end. Like you have to have a mentality of pushing forward. And if you don't, you just hide. You're never going to get to live the life that God has ordained or given you the right to have. And I talked about this in my men's group. We talked about the shield of faith. You know, the entire armor of God was based off of a Roman legionnaire. These guys were the special forces of Roman time. And the Romans military is arguably to date still considered the strongest military that has ever existed in its current present time. So these guys that the Bible were basing their armor off of, they were ridiculous. They were strong, and their shields were tower shields, and they didn't hide behind them. They strategically stood behind them, and then they actually used them to move forward. The number one response with a shield to being attacked is to block and then shield reflect, which means hit back with the shield. It's how they gain ground. And so if you're just sitting back hiding, hoping things get better, it's not going to do anything for you. You have to be prepared to take the attack and then move forward. You have to resist and then persist. If you're not willing to have persistence, then you're never going to accomplish anything that you're wanting to have done.
I know I always tell myself each night, I always say, after this full night's sleep, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be even better. Because I've been going through this, dehydration thing, and it's so much better. I'm doing so much better. But then I have some lingering issues with my lymphatic system, which I'm actually standing right now doing this radio show. Because if I sit for long periods of time, my face and my eyes start to get really fuzzy because the inguinal lymph nodes, they start to get blocked, and kind of circulation starts to get blocked. And so I've been having some ART done in that particular area, and it's remarkable the difference it's making, and it's making me so much better. But I'm thinking to myself, it's an inconvenience to stand and do this radio show while my husband gets to sit, and it does often make me feel fatigued, because it would be really nice to be able to just sit down every now and again and allow that seated position to kind of provide me with like some reprieve, some rest. And then we have a family member that is in a hospital in Chicago, and he can't use his legs anymore because of one accident, one trip home from the gym. And his legs, we believe God that he'll be able to use one day, but for right now, he can't use them. And so he probably would give anything to stand all day long. And no matter how fatiguing it would be for him, I know that he would want to stand all day long, right? And so that is just like, I'm just standing doing the radio show. Like, I can stand. It'll get better for me. And then we have a friend that a family member is struggling with cyclical vomiting. At one point, she vomited 70 times in a day. And now she's down to vomiting like 10 times a day. And I kind of look at my food and I think, I can only eat chicken. I can only eat green beans. I can only eat this. These are the only things that are impacting me. And then at the very same time, on the very same day, I think to myself, this person can't eat anything right now. And they've lost over 20 pounds, and everything that they consume, they throw up. So every day I've looked at John and I've said, I can use my legs, and I'm not throwing up all day long. And every day I get better. And every night that I go to sleep, I wake up a little bit stronger and a little bit better the next day. And so God is causing me to press on.
One consideration is, too, like Debbie just said, she's looking at two other people whose situations are worse than hers, and she's acknowledging that, and that's good to do. But another thing to be careful of is comparison. So, Debbie knows my situation, and she knows that if I were to stand for this radio show, standing still is not okay for me. At church, when it's time to stand, I have to shift and eventually ultimately have to sit down, because my spine will not allow me to compress in the same spot for more than about 45 seconds at a time. So you also have to be careful looking at other people and saying that I would trade that situation because they are at rest, and recognizing that they might give to be where you are while you're trying to give to be where they are. You have to focus on you.
You just got to focus on the blessing that the day is giving you for sure. And it's giving you a day of life. And that's just the blessing that you have to focus on. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with our trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris of Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We've just been talking about overcoming. It seems to be a theme that we get stuck on a lot lately because people are just suffering and they're not putting in what they need to put in to overcome. And that doesn't mean people aren't trying. I know people are trying. I know people do want out of their situation. I'm actually seeing that more now than I have in the past. Like, I will have people come to me and tell me they're trying. And I had this conversation with my daughter about trying because she had something that she'd kind of fallen away from and she needed to get back to. And she told me, well, I'm trying. And what it was is reading a proverb every day. And she said she forgets and then, she gets behind. And so then she reads 3 in a day to make up for the 2 days she missed. But then I'm like, okay, what do you remember from those 3? And it's nothing, which is part of why we read them every day, right? So that we can actually take in what we read. And so she told me she was trying to get back to it. And I said, okay, well, what are you trying? And she kind of just looked at me. I was like, have you set an alarm? Have you wrote it down? Did you make a note and put it by your nightstand so that before you went to bed, you would read it? Have you done anything to actually put a discipline in place to be able to accomplish what it is you're trying to do? Because if you haven't, you're not actually trying, you're just acknowledging. And I think a lot of people acknowledge they need to do something, but they're not actually trying to do it because they just maybe do it once or give it consideration. And so what I'm getting to is I'm seeing a lot more people try. They are implementing disciplines. They are putting things in place. They are actually trying to move forward. But what's happening is when they hit the first wall, they're falling apart. Like that's what I'm seeing more of now is they hit the first difficult situation, or they're doing phenomenal on their food and their exercise for 22 days. And then they take a 5-day vacation and they just can't come back and get it back in line. So just preparing for war, preparing for this is what I need to do now. This is my contingency. This is where I'm going to look for assistance from. It's just so important because you have to take into account that there is going to be something else. And I always make the connection because I am a fighter. And so for me, I'm like, when you put a discipline in place and you overcome something and you think you're done, that would be like someone throwing a jab at you and you slip the jab and you step to the outside and you're like, yay, I did it. And you let your guard down. And then you take a cross right to the face. Like there's something else that's going to be coming. So part of your discipline has to be implementing growth. Like, what is the next thing I'm going to deal with on this trek that I'm on right now?
I have some notes from our message yesterday at Faith Chapel, and it was Pastor Blake. And there's 2 things I'm going to mention, and then I'm going to actually put a health spin on it, just because whenever I hear things, my brain immediately goes to, okay, I can help people with their health with that. But these were great. It was a really strong message yesterday. And he said, you cannot neglect God's presence and expect spiritual clarity. And we are spiritually aware, but in a practical way, we are inactive. So knowing the truth is not the same as living the truth. And so I just want to put a turn on this, like the part where you cannot neglect God's presence and expect spiritual clarity. You can't neglect your body over and over again, neglect making quality choices, neglect your food prep, neglect getting the right groceries, neglect taking the time to move, neglect doing your stretches, neglect going to the gym, period, neglect being willing to spend any money on your health, and expect to have some type of mental clarity every day. Expect to have some type of regular energy every day. Expect for your skin to be okay. Expect for your digestion to be okay. Expect for your sleep to be okay. We can't expect any of these things. We might want these things. We might desire after these things, but we definitely can't expect these things because we're not doing the work to be able to receive those things. Now, the other one, spiritually aware, but from a practical standpoint, inactive. Knowing the truth is not the same as living the truth. We may know what to do. We know what to do. We know how to do it. We know what it looks like, but we think in our mind that it's okay to still have some of this. It's okay to still have some of that. It's okay to go a few days without doing things. It's okay to no longer pay for that professional. Somehow you'll figure out how to do it on your own, and you're not figuring it out. You're not taking the time. You're not working as hard as you did with that professional. And the problem is you're getting worse. Things are starting to happen to your body. You're starting to see your body start to just really depreciate in value. And every day you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, I truly know what I need to do, but yet I can't do it. For whatever reason, I can't do it. Then I ask you to go back to that first part that I talked to you about. Get on your food, get on your movement, and your mental clarity is going to come back. And when your mental clarity and your mood changes and that starts to come back, you will start being able to get back into a pattern of consistency on this stuff. And your health will ultimately change because you will make the choices that need to be made in order to get to yourself to a better place. But just like the comments say, I mean, it is so quick when it changes. When I just get back, I mean, I can close my eyes in the morning for 5 minutes and I can immediately connect with God. Immediately. But if I just rush out of my bed and I rush to my phone, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I do this all the time. I know I've got a schedule, so I got to get going. Then what? Then I'm in the shower trying to close my eyes and trying to connect with God. It becomes a little bit harder in there. I've got some distractions, okay? Now I go through my day and I'm trying to make that connection with God. I have to make it a priority. I have to set it aside. And when I set aside that time and when I make that decision to connect with God, and I truly do, I am in better alignment because I am acting in obedience because I can hear from Him and I know what choices I need to make and I know what choices I need not to make. And as I start to step towards a choice that I shouldn't be making, all of the sudden, I feel the pressure. I feel a check in my spirit. I feel like I am very aware that peace is leaving my body and maybe anxiousness, maybe just like an unfriendly spirit has now entered my body. And it's just an instability. And I don't feel comfortable making the decision. And it feels so good to know that I can hear from God because I will make those right decisions. Now, have we ever had those circumstances when we're thinking about making a choice for what we're about to eat? Have we ever felt that way? Then have we ever had a hard time the next day connecting with God to have that quiet time? When we have the quiet time, are we thinking about how bloated we are? Are we thinking about how bad of a headache we have? Are we thinking about how tired we are? Or can we even think because our mind is so bogged down and it's just so fogged up and we just don't have what it takes to even get the mental clarity? His whole message yesterday was about discernment. And you know, these two comments were just all a part of discernment. But Pastor Blake said, discernment requires stillness long enough to hear from God clearly. And you have got to give your body long enough for it to react to these foods, for it to react to the stillness, to the rest that you're giving it, to the nutrients that you're giving it, to the water that you're giving it, to the minerals that you're giving it. You have to give it long enough to be able to yield you a different experience and a different form of health. But let me just tell you, just like I told you with that 5 minutes of laying in bed with my eyes closed, that I immediately connect with God. I'm going to tell you one clean meal. You could have had 4 terrible meals that day. One clean meal gets you in connection with your health. It gets you in connection with detox. It gets you in connection with rebalancing your minerals and hydrating yourself. It gets you in connection with helping your cells to have the energy that they need to have. It's literally that quick. It's one meal. You can change your health one meal at a time, one choice at a time. Every choice you make could make a change.
I think that's the only way you can look at baby steps and actually have a good concept of a baby step. I've talked about this before. I hate the concept of baby steps because people are like, yeah, just do it baby steps, just baby steps. And it's like, babies can't wait to run. Like, that's what they want to be doing. So taking yourself back to taking a baby step, it doesn't make sense in my mind. However, I think this would be a spot that you could actually use that terminology, because you could say one step is just before 2-step. So when you're like, I already ate 4 bad things today, what's the point on my last one being a good thing? Well, the point on your last one being a good thing is tomorrow, if you can have 2 of those things be good, then you're actually ready to take off running. Don't do one good thing for 4 weeks so that at the 5-week program you can do 2 good things. So at the 6-week, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you say this is blown, this fight is lost, today is over, disagree with that. Don't let that be the end game. Don't let that be the just giving in to failure. And I've got a couple clients I'm dealing with right now, 2 of them actually. And it's sad because what I'm watching is they've got themselves in this position where they're eating what they know they shouldn't eat. This goes back to Debbie's point of I know what I should do. They're eating what they know they shouldn't eat. And I'm connecting it for them to the problems they're having. They're having issues with their joints hurting. One of them, she's really hurting. Her hips jacked up now. It's got her mind all jacked up. She asked me about, I guess it's been 4 months ago now. She was doing so good. And she asked me if I could train her for these vacations she's going on this summer, because she's just been doing so well. She feels great. There's going to be a ton of walking, a lot of hills and stuff. And so she's like, I just want to make sure I'm really ready for that. Well, when she's coming into me right now, we can barely get past mobility work because she's hurting so bad. But she's brought all of these foods back in. She's brought dairy in. She's brought sourdough bread back in, which everybody thinks is great. Like, okay, is it better than the white bunny bread on the shelf? Sure, but it is not great for you. They're bringing all of these things back in, and then they're talking about how bad they hurt and how this and this. And I'm like, why don't you start fighting this from the inside out? Like, go to war with this so you can actually enjoy this vacation. So many people are doing that.
And that's what we do. We help you to go to war, again, with all that's coming against your body and even poor choices. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We're just talking about kind of getting stuck and dealing with the loop of bringing things in. And Deb was talking about being foggy and being bogged down. And something that I talk about a lot is that people try, when it comes to health and overcoming, to separate the spiritual from the physical. There's like, even for the most highly faith-filled spiritual people I know, they try to separate it. Now, if you're sitting here telling me, well, I'm not a faith-filled person, John, I'm just listening to your show because you talk about motivation, no problem. But just hear me out on this, okay? So people start talking about bringing in the food, and I've said more times than I can count on the show, about how food is Satan's secret weapon. But hang with me for a second here. They start talking about bringing this food in, or they get on a vacation, they get off their food, and they come back, and they just can't lock back in. Well, the reason you can't lock back in is because you keep telling yourself, okay, I'm going to get this. I know what to do. I know I can get into this. The problem is that you've actually brought enough pollution into your brain that there's actually a neurological shift that you're now dealing with a type of addiction that goes beyond just making a decision. And the spiritual realm is you're probably attempting to be thrown off your A game right now. And you could also be dealing with a generational curse. Is your family lineage addicted to food? Are they addicted to alcohol? Are they addicted to painkillers or medications? Like, what is it that you're struggling with right now? What is your addiction? And, if you want to have solid faith, if you're like, man, I just wish I could follow Jesus with all my heart, and you have an addiction, you've proven that you're capable. You're just worshiping a false god. So you have to put yourself in a position where you stop pedestaling what you're dealing with, because that pedestal, every time you engage in that dopamine, you step further away from the ability to follow the call and purpose on your life and actually feel good. Because what happens is God designed us neurologically to enjoy what we do and how we overcome the things that we're called to deal with. That's why when you complete hard work, you get a dopamine release and you feel good about what you did. That's why when you accomplish any form of task or you grow as a person, there's a dopamine response. The problem is dopamine's at your fingertips right now. Why would you think about eating clean and feeling well? Why would you think about getting up and doing something? Why would you think about going and exercising and the release of the physical increase of your capabilities in your body when you can sit and scroll for 2 hours and claim you don't have time? I mean, take a look at your phone. Track how long you've been in it. Most devices now will tell you what your usage is a week. You want to alarm yourself by talking about not having time? Go ahead and sift through that. So when you're sitting there telling yourself, kind of feeling bad on yourself, like, man, I can't do this, I can't overcome this, it's too hard, you might actually be in a position where to a certain extent you're right. You got to get your mind clear. You're sitting there saying, I know what I need to do, but I'm dealing with arthritis. I feel like garbage. I haven't slept well lately. I can't stop sneezing. My GI tract's messed up, but I'm going to go ahead and slam this fast food because I don't have any other option. That's nonsensical. You're lying to yourself. Have you ever had someone tell you something and you're immediately like, that's BS, that's an excuse? They're doing the same thing to you. The only person that buys what you're saying when you make an excuse is you. The same way you don't buy your friends or family's excuses, they're not listening to yours either, even if they're nodding and smiling and shaking their head. So quit feeding yourself that. And it's easy to do. That's actually spiritual warfare. That's the call of the enemy. You're in the enemy's camp right now. Everybody talks about the battle of good versus evil, spiritual warfare, overcoming. I got news for you. The Bible says in Revelations that the war is already won. The enemy is already defeated. What are you trying to defeat on a daily basis? All you have to do is keep pressing forward. But what you got to do to press forward is you got to recognize that you are alone in behind enemy lines. Why are you not surrounding yourself with people that can assist you? Why are you not getting around iron that sharpens your iron? Why are you trying to do all of this alone? And so you have to put yourself in a mindset that you are fighting from a disadvantage. So quit making the disadvantage greater by polluting yourself with this garbage you could be bringing in and setting yourself up to fight from a deficit. So many people talk about, I don't feel good, my body hurts, I can't get my mind clear. What have you ate and drank in the past 48 hours? Well, today's been a clean day. Okay. You don't think the weekend racked you up? I mean, if you're doing every weekend, I promise you that you're not okay through the week. The first day you might start to feel good is your TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday because I just got through this terrible week that I actually created last weekend. So I'm going to give myself some dopamine responses with food, alcohol, and stuff I don't need to be doing this weekend so I can have a crappy next week as well. If you're caught in the 9-to-5 grind and you hate what you do, the devil's got you. So you have to find a way to get yourself out of that position and quit talking about how bad life is and make a change.
Wow, that was really good, John. Nice way to come at the world there, huh? That was a strong message. I have a little post-it on my desk, and it says, "The easy way doesn't pay well." And I have it right where I can see it every single day, because a lot of times I sit in front of people and there's a route that I can take with them, and there's just always a fork in the road, and I can be like, okay, no, I understand. Yeah, you were out of town. No, totally makes sense. And so meanwhile, I just got back from Chicago, and my husband had to bring a mini fridge in the back of our SUV so that I could have a refrigerator at the Ronald McDonald House. And I brought every single meal that I ate in a cooler. And then we had to walk 2,700 steps, or was it 1,700 steps? 1,700 steps to get to the hospital. And we brought 2 coolers, with us every time as we walked. No, I totally understand why you couldn't stick with your food when you were out of town in Florida visiting your family, because I know for sure they don't have vegetables there, and I know for sure they don't have fruits there, and I know for sure they don't have chicken. I know for sure, okay, I mean, you don't have to do it the way I did it. You don't have to bring a refrigerator in the back of your SUV. You don't have to bring 2 coolers, but you can eat clean. And you can go somewhere other than a fast food restaurant. And even if you had to go to a fast food restaurant, you could get a hamburger, you could remove the bun, you could ask for no cheese, you could ask for extra lettuce, you could go to Chick-fil-A and get that same exact thing with a chicken sandwich and then ask for their fruit cup. There are definitely ways that you could do this, but the fork that I have in the road, behind my desk, is I'm sitting in front of this person, and I look to the right and I see the easy way doesn't pay well. And what that tells me is, Debbie, you can't choose the easy way for your life. We already know that. There is no easy way in my life. But I can't choose the easy way with any of these people. I have to sit down and be as thorough as I can possibly be with every single one of them, because I have to put some kind of message in front of them to make them leave my office believing that they have to do this differently, and that the way that they've been doing it is the reason why they feel so bad every day. And that if they just make some small changes and some small choices, they're going to put themselves in a different position. I can't tell you how many people walk into my office and say, I have genetically high cholesterol. Doctor says it's just genetics. There's no way I can adjust it. And I'm like, okay, have they checked your thyroid levels? Oh yeah, they do the TSH every time. Okay, have they ever checked a T3? Have they ever checked a T4? Have they ever checked the reverse T3? Have they ever checked your thyroid antibody levels? No, they've never done that before. Do they check your CRP? Do they check your homocysteine? Do they check the particle sizing? No, I don't think they've ever checked those. Okay. Do they check an A1C? No, just a fasting glucose. Okay, so they're telling you that you have cholesterol that is genetic, that cannot lower, and they haven't checked any of those inflammatory markers. They haven't checked your T3, which is responsible for helping the body to break down cholesterol. So none of these things are getting checked, but you're just convinced that no matter what you eat, you're going to have genetically high cholesterol. I would start thinking about listening to someone else, because the easy way doesn't pay well. Yes, I can help you with your food. Yes, I can change your food. And yes, I think that will help you to lower your cholesterol. But you also need a doctor that's not always looking at the fruit, and he's trying to get to the root. And you need to get to the root of why you have high cholesterol. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with our 6-month nutrition program with myself, or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from My Personal Bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.